You've done it recently. Maybe you don't even remember doing it. Someone says something good is going to happen, or you say it yourself, and before the sentence is even finished, your hand finds the nearest table, the nearest door frame, the nearest desk, and you knock. 2 or 3 times. Soft, almost automatic, and then you keep talking as if nothing happened. You don't believe knocking on wood does anything. You probably couldn't explain where the ritual came from. You certainly don't think a wooden surface contains supernatural power. And yet, here you are, a modern adult with a smartphone and a university education, performing an ancient ritual to ward off bad luck. That is not a quirk. That is not a habit you picked up from your grandmother. That is your brain running a program so old it predates every religion on earth. And the strangest part is this. The program is not about wood. It never was. To understand what is actually happening when you knock on wood, you have to understand a problem the human brain has been solving for at least 50,000 years. Not a religious problem, not a cultural problem, a survival problem. The human brain is extraordinarily good at one thing above all others: predicting what comes next. Every moment of your waking life, your brain is running thousands of invisible simulations, forward modeling the future based on what just happened. This is not meditation. This is not planning. It happens automatically, below conscious awareness, millions of times a day. You stand up from a chair and your brain has already predicted the floor will hold you. You reach for a glass and your brain has already simulated the weight and distance. You don't think about any of it. It just runs. For most of human history, this predictive machinery was the difference between life and death. If your predictions were good, you survived. If your predictions were bad, you made mistakes. And in a world filled with predators, infected wounds, and unpredictable weather, mistakes had consequences that didn't feel abstract. But this is where the mechanism created an unexpected problem. The same brain that learned to predict the future also learned to fear the prediction itself. Neuroscientists call this anticipatory anxiety, and it may be one of the oldest cognitive features in the human brain. The moment your brain generates a positive prediction, it immediately begins scanning for threats to that prediction. Something good is going to happen. What could destroy it? This is where the knocking starts. Think about what the ritual actually does. You say something good. Your brain immediately registers the positive prediction. Your anticipatory anxiety fires. Something could still ruin this. Your hand moves. The act of knocking does not change the outcome of anything. You know this. Your rational mind knows this completely. But the ritual is not aimed at your rational mind. It is aimed at a much older part of your brain, a part that has been managing threat detection since long before language existed. And this is where it gets genuinely strange. The brain does not distinguish well between symbolic action and real action. This sounds wrong, but it is not philosophy. The ritual doesn't ward off bad luck. It wards off the anticipatory anxiety that bad luck might arrive. And anxiety, when it becomes severe enough, actually increases the probability of failure. The ancient ritual was solving a real cognitive problem, not a supernatural one. Now here's the part nobody talks about. Knocking on wood appears in cultures that never contacted each other. Ancient Greeks knocked on trees to invoke the protection of wood spirits. Celts in Northern Europe did the same. Pre-agricultural groups across the Americas performed similar contact rituals before important events. The specific explanation varied. The behavior was identical, not because one culture taught the other, because every human brain, regardless of century or geography, carries the same anticipatory anxiety machinery. The ritual was always the brain's solution to its own prediction problem. Culture added the explanation afterward. The behavior came first. Researchers have actually measured this. In 1994, psychologist Neil Weinstein at Rutgers University published research on what he called unrealistic optimism, the near-universal tendency for humans to believe good things are more likely to happen to them than to other people. But Weinstein found something else embedded in that optimism. The brain that believed something good was coming also showed elevated vigilance toward anything that might interfere. The positive prediction and the protective impulse arrived together. They were the same system running in parallel. Then, in 2013, psychologist Lisanne Darmish and colleagues at the University of Cologne tested what actually happens inside the brain when a ritual is performed before an uncertain outcome. Participants who performed a good luck ritual before a task showed measurably better performance than those who didn't. Not because the ritual changed reality, because it changed the brain state of the performer. The ritual reduced anxiety. Lower anxiety improved focus. Better focus improved outcomes. The ritual worked, not by magic, but by giving the anticipatory anxiety system exactly what it needed, a signal that something had been done. Your brain needed to feel like it had responded to the threat. The knock gave it that signal. The wood part, specifically, may trace to an even older feature of human cognition. Long before recorded religion, trees occupied a specific place in human psychology. They were shelter, they were food, they were tools, they were landmarks in unfamiliar territory. They were among the most reliable things in a deeply unreliable world. A tree that had stood for 100 years had already survived everything the environment had thrown at it. Your brain noticed that. Ancient humans touching trees before uncertain events may have been performing a kind of cognitive anchoring, connecting themselves to something that had already proven durable. The contact was information. The knock was a grounding signal. Something that has survived this long might share some of that resilience. The brain was using the tree as evidence, not as a deity. Over thousands of years, the specific logic was forgotten. The behavior remained. And then culture arrived and built an explanation around it. The explanation changed depending on who was telling it. The knock never changed. The brain did not develop anticipatory anxiety to create ritual. It developed anticipatory anxiety to protect successful predictions from being ruined. Ritual was the side effect, and it was an extraordinarily successful one, because the behavior is still running, fully intact, in people who have never been religious a single day in their lives. Think about what that actually means. Every religion that ever built a ritual around this impulse was describing the same thing in different words. Touch the sacred object, make contact with something durable, signal to the brain that you have responded. The gods changed, the wood stayed. The next time your hand moves toward that table, your brain isn't accessing folk magic or invoking wood spirits. It is doing something it has been doing for at least 50,000 years. It generated a prediction it wants to protect. It scanned for threats to that prediction. It needed to signal that something had been done. Your hand moved. The knock is your brain telling itself, I know something good might happen. I know something could ruin it. I have acknowledged that. We can proceed. The ritual doesn't protect the future. It protects the brain from itself. And it has been working in every culture, in every century, for longer than anyone can trace. The wood just got there first.